Nice. Hey Siri, ring my extra.
Just a moment.
Right, you have to have like a special. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a new episode of Poker Time, and it's a new player. That is Bart Hanson, the Bart Hanson, Mr. Bart Hanson.
Yeah, he knows his way around the RFID tables. He was the original commentator for Live at the Bike
Yes, indeed.
back in the day. And look at this. He's got queens on the very first hand of his session here.
Not so bad. He actually finished third in the Monster Stack this year in 2019 at the World Series of Poker for some ungodly amount of money. So that was pretty good, too.
I think it was a pretty holy amount of money.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like over $250,000, I think.
He's got a caller. He's got DM5, who we've seen before. DM5, an aggressive player, a sticky player. He doesn't like to give up pots.
No, he does not. And it's a gutter for DM5, and that's it.
I don't expect him to fold, though. Expect mostly a call or a raise from him, knowing his stickiness and his aggression.
I think that's correct, too. I think folding would be a mistake.
I do, too. Bart did open under the gun. If you're going to fold, it's not a hand like a gut shot that you want to fold. You want to fold hands that maybe you're like, I don't know, 5s and 4s because Bart's under the gun range is so strong. But having the gut shot, that's really disguised if it gets there. That's a hand you should at least call with. It looks like he's raising, which...
That's good, too. I think that's fine, too. Now it's taking on Bart's under-the-gun range on the first hand especially, where he's likely to be strong, but he could have ace-king and ace-queen and ace-jack.
Also, DM5 is repping just a set on this board.
Pretty much just a set, yeah. 10-7 suited, I guess.
The ace shouldn't factor into DM5's hand too much, and not into Bart's too much either, unless Bart has ace-10 suited.
Right. That's what Bart can have is ace-10.
DM5 usually not going to have ace-10, but maybe sometimes he'll raise that. I don't know.
I think he is one of the few guys who might raise ace-10 once in a while. I'm not totally sure.
He's going to keep betting, keep repping a set, maybe 10-7 suited.
He may be hoping that this card's going to scare a hand like Bart's has, but I don't think it's going to work against Bart here. Bart's probably going to put the pieces together and know that ace rarely helps DM5. He's either way ahead or way behind.
The problem is it's just a random bluff or 8-9 or gut shot.
Feels like 8-9 mostly.
And speaking of 8-9.
Yeah, 8-9 comes in pretty hardcore here. It makes the second nuts. Well, not the second nuts, actually. The second nuts straight, though.
Clubs are very unlikely, so it feels like the second nuts.
Yep.
Bart does block both clubs and king-queen, but neither of those are major parts of DM5's range when he raises the flop.
DM5 has some backdoor clubs at least. Bart has very few. I think he's often going to rep those on the turn if he were to picked up when the ace of clubs specifically comes. Anyway, DM5 does go for it.
It's a nice kind of value-y sized bet
here.
I don't know. This is a pretty rough spot for Bart. I think I would probably fold.
I mean, the jack and the sixers feel like the two worst cards in the deck. Turns out they wouldn't be, but I think we're calling as Bart with most of our range here, but when a jack and a six comes off, we're folding almost everything. So when I say we're calling most of our range, I mean most river cards we're calling.
Yeah, that almost made sense.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
It was close enough.
I tried. Stuart looking on with what have got to be jammies.
He's sleepy. Nighty-night time.
It's sweet. It's sweet.
So you meant most of the deck's range. We're calling off on most of the deck's range.
I guess that's what I meant, yeah. I meant, yeah, most river cards, I think Bart's going to find a call there, and he got a little unlucky that one of the 8 cards peeled off, or really 7 cards peeled off. That is going to probably get a fold.
Yep.
Music is on.
There is band teacher under the gun there. We've seen him before. He teaches band.
That is correct. It's a real thing.
He's got opuses galore.
Digital Dan with the Jack 9 of Hearts.
There's another new player over there. That is Eric. Not going to play the ace 8. And there's Timmer, who we have seen before.
Yep. Digital Dan in the last episode famously lost more money in than anyone ever has in the history of Poker Time.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And Timmer was involved in the biggest pot in the history of Poker Time
Right,
as well.
two sessions ago when he had built his stack up to just a massive stack and then played a hand in a way that we felt was suboptimal
Yeah.
against Wonka and lost a huge chunk.
Actually, just 2 episodes ago, even. I mean,
Oh, 2 episodes ago.
Very recent.
What do you know about
right.
your shirt?
Yeah.
What do you know about your own
So these guys are all smarting
Like, not that much, but I do know it's not.
from the pain.
I think it is. It looks like a San Francisco street car.
Oh, look, Stuart. He looks like a grown up right there with his hair like that.
I
He's
think
talking.
he
It's
was
so
referring
sweet.
to the shirt when he said not a streetcar. I think he's talking about what the symbols are on there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think they're speculating. Anyway, DM5 now with the queens, and he's going to be against the same hand that Bart was against with queens, the 6-5
that's
suited.
Kind of cool.
And Eric's going to 3-bet the 6-5 suited.
Oh, and
Oh.
Timmer's got something big.
And he only bought in for 100 bigs, so I think he's going to not be folding if
Well,
he decides to put in a 4-bet.
Agreed. That is a 4-bet. If I'm going to call it the queens, and Eric's in a weird spot here. It's only 145. I guess
think
he just has to call.
Yeah, you kind of have to call. You wish Timmer
Oh.
was deeper.
We have real stack to pot issues here. But, I mean, it's not even 2-1 for Eric.
That's your prime. Is that your best instrument?
And
Well, he's got a gut shot, but that's not going to be enough with the stack to
No
pot and
way.
the size of the bet that's coming here. DM5 is destined to lose $735 more here.
it would seem like it. You especially would think as DM5 that Eric almost never has aces or kings since he just called the 4.
Yeah, you're not too worried about Eric. Mostly just hoping that Timmer doesn't have what he's repping.
Yep. Turns out he does.
He bets small. That's interesting. I guess he's trying to induce a bluff, just in case.
Yeah. Keep 10s around.
Is that on base clock?
DM5 will make the call.
He could have just moved in there or effectively moved in.
It would have been really reasonable, too, actually, to shut out Eric.
And now Eric, thinking about his gut shot here, thinking if he has the right odds to call. He
does
does have
not.
backdoor spades as well. I just don't think it's enough with stack to pot.
I don't think it is either. He does get to close the action. The thing is, Timmer's almost certainly going to be all in on the turn if you're Eric. You have to assume that anyway. So we're only going to get to see one card here. He is...
Wait, what Eric has to be hoping
Does
here
make the call.
is that DM5 has a set. That's really like your major hope.
Yeah, because you need to get all of the... Eric needs to get the full double.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this is not a good enough call. Even then, I don't think it's good enough.
Well, now he's up and down, but once
it shouldn't
Timmer
matter.
moves in and DM5 inevitably calls, I don't think Eric can put any more chips in
Yeah.
the pot. Although he's going to be getting an incredible price.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out, but you are correct. As
It
soon as
looks-
Timmer moves in, he might be
Well, it
getting
looks like
5-1.
DM5 is actually going to be betting
Oh.
here.
Well,
That
That's-
makes it easier to fold if you're Eric.
Well, he's still getting that incredible price, though. He's getting 4-1, and he's a little better than 4-1. Of course, yeah, like you're saying, now it costs more. So it's not 4-1, is it? It's like 3-1 and change. Of course, when Timmer moves all in here, you don't know for sure as Eric that Timmer's really doing that, though. What if Timmer has ace-king? What if he folds?
I mean, you have 6 high.
Yeah. It's definitely got to throw it away there.
Timmer should just put the 485 in, obviously, and
He does.
now he's in great shape to have a wonderful beginning to the session.
Yeah, he's one card away.
Not only is he going to
From
get
a very
DM5's
nice open.
full double, he also gets all the money Eric put in
Yeah,
there.
Eric put a fair amount of money in there, too, like $500.
What a deal.
Indeed.
Unless we see a queen here.
No
Nope.
go. Eric gets to see no 9 and no 4, which has got to feel good. And DM5 is just kind of cooler there a little bit. There's nothing he can really
Yeah,
do
not
about
much you can
that. I kind of like his lead on the turn too.
It's
Just to put
shut
pressure
out,
on
shut out
Eric.
ace king a little bit too. Mm-hmm. In case Timmer has ace king, you don't really want him drawing for free.
Yeah, exactly. If it checks through and then an ace or a king comes,
Yeah.
it's just really not great because the pot's big. And as DM5 knows, if he's losing, he's going to get it all in anyway. So it's pretty reasonable. He could have, by the way, used that same thought process to just raise all in on the flop. Or raised him all in on the flop, I should say.
I don't know if I've ever been in a cash game where I bought in for 100 or more big blinds, and in the first 2 hands, 2.5x my hand on one of those 2 hands. That's what Timmer just did.
I'm sure
2.5x my stack.
Sure I have. but it doesn't happen very often.
It's a rarity to 2.5 extra stack on any given hand.
Yep, it sure is. It's pretty lovely. That's what I'm here to say.
I'm glad you're here for it.
Yep. Bart Hanson.
Crushing the live poker by folding the button there.
There was a limp from DM5 who's played all 3 hands so far.
He does like to play.
Yeah, he does. He plays a lot of hands. You will see this. But he's interesting and creative post-flop for sure. And I see that Martha's having some issues with the graphics. DM5, by the way, limping the ace-3 off.
That is not typically in people's ranges.
I will say the solver doesn't love it.
Yeah.
Solver's not a huge fan of that play.
I will though. Everybody folded except for
Give Wheel.
But he, gets to have position. By the way, Bart Hanson just deciding to fold the 8-7 off on the button where he could have limped it.
Yeah.
He's a little
Maybe
surprised.
he's trying to feel out the table a bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Would have flopped open-ended.
Would have flopped pretty nicely.
Nobody flops anything, though. Who's in the hand?
Not flush draw now
Well,
for
now,
DM5.
Digital Dan flopped a 4, and now he has another 4.
Yep.
So that's actually pretty good. Band teacher calls with the deuce 3. 3 of
Because he had
clubs.
the 3 of clubs.
Oh, he bet. That makes more sense.
Oh, that
And
does make more sense.
DM5 with the nut flush now. I don't think he's going to be able to get any action.
Digital Dan's going to hate it, but it's hard to think of what you're beating. I guess you could maybe a queen jack without a club.
Oh, he's paying him
Does
off.
call. DM5's rep gets him paid, and Dan
Oh,
wants to
Dan
show.
turns it over because I think he didn't realize that he had lost. That's what that felt like to me.
No, I think he knew. I think he knew he lost. He likes to show the table when he loses with a big hand.
That had the feel of I didn't realize that was the ace of clubs.
I don't know. I was watching his face as he did it. It didn't change.
Yeah, it did. It did. It was subtle.
See that face right there? That's the I knew I was losing the whole time face. Also, is this a 6-year-old boy sitting on my left face? I think he's 6.
They let him play. They let him play poker because he has a bigger vocabulary than the average 6-year-old.
What do you want to be when you grow up? An astronaut. Aw.
You just did both rolls there.
Yeah.
That's good. It's like a one-man.
I didn't know if you were going to know to do it, so I just did it. All right. DM5 again limping the just the raggedy ace.
Yeah, the unsuited raggedy ace.
Under the gun.
He must just feel that he has an incredible post-flop advantage against everybody who's ever played poker.
Well, things are going well so far
Yeah.
for him, I'll say that. Even though he did lose. He's down on the session, I guess, so maybe not so well. But he bluffed Bart. We got value from Dan.
There's a level of hubris in limping ace-6 off.
It's hard to argue. Big flop for Timmer.
I mean, sort of.
I mean, big flop relative to the other hands.
Yeah, he
I
doesn't
should say.
feel that great about it, I'm sure.
Right. He's like, well, sometimes it all works out.
And now he's, winning a fair amount of the time, but he's not going to be happy if a bet goes in on the turn, I don't think.
Well, he's especially 2 bets, but he knows to check it and control the pot, which I like a lot.
Now he should feel a little bit better because his hand went up as far as nut value.
He's got to be hoping someone like DM5. Oh, there you go. Wheel takes
Wheel's
a
just going
shot.
to take a shot here. And, this is actually not an amazing spot for Timmer. He has the third nuts and Wheel's betting into 4 opponents.
Wheel bets 50 into 185 and gets the fold.
And Timmer's in the worst position against Wheel.
Timmer
He had
has the third nuts.
I think
don't
it's
know,
a
man.
reasonable fold there.
I guess Wheel was the pre-flop raiser, so he has more aces in his range, so then the ace of diamonds can factor
And
in.
you've watched Poker Time, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect Wheel to be bluffing there.
That's true. I really wouldn't. Although when Wheel bluffs and there's that kind of a spot, the sizing is usually tiny like it was. I'll say that. I'm just thinking of one other hand from years ago against where Brewer, where he donked and Brewer raised him. But yeah, that's fair. Anyway, that was a pretty neat play.
Yeah, I mean, I think
It is a tough spot for Timmer.
I think
with
I
all
would
the
have
people
folded in
behind.
Timmer's position. I think if I were in DM5 spot and I
Yeah.
had the 10 of diamonds, I could have made the call.
I think that's right. That's reasonable at least, I should say. There's our dealer Devin giving Eric his cards, although he's not there to receive them. She's a pro.
She has dealt the final hand of the main event of the World Series of Poker, the one where John Sin won.
Yep.
It's the only hand she dealt all summer.
It was the greatest knit roll in the history of knit rolls.
We've got the 3-bet from Digital Dan on the button with a hand that plays better as the aggressor, I think, in general, especially against a late position open.
That's probably true, but also does play perfectly well as a call in position. But yeah, you're probably right. That's a nice flop for him.
It's an incredibly good flop for ace jack with the ace of hearts. When you 3-bet and get called, you feel pretty happy about that.
Yep. And Band Teacher has a pretty great hand where you certainly can't fold on the flop, I don't think.
I mean, you could fold in the flop. I mean, he didn't, but I don't think that's a fair statement to say you can't fold 9s on this flop when you get 3-bet.
Well, now he's got a gutter as well.
Probably doesn't feel great about that. Tricky spot for Dan as to whether he should bet and what sizing he should choose.
I think he should bet for sure. He's got top. There's no real reason to think you're losing.
Yeah, he's just hoping to get called by, I guess, like a king 10 type hand.
Any jack,
Which you do block.
ace 10, king jack, king 10, king queen, hearts. You know, there's stuff. Pocket 9s.
I'm a little surprised to see
And
the
he
call get made.
does get the call. Maybe Band Teacher's just thinking he can have overs. Well, that's going to end things. I don't think Band Teacher's going to put any more money in now.
No, and it's kind of good news, bad news for Dan because
Yeah.
the most obvious non-flush draw did come in with king queen.
It's true. Still, I think his hand's just too good. He has to go for some value here. He can get paid off by the ace X of hearts. No, he can't. He's got the ace of hearts in his hand. I take it back. The ace X of diamonds? Ace queen of diamonds, maybe? Something like that can pay him off.
Ace queen of diamonds is maybe the only hand.
It might have raised on the turn.
Yeah.
So there aren't too many of them out there. Still, it's reasonable to take a shot when you got top 2, I think. Can't imagine Band Teacher's really going to... He takes the Digital Dan dice, though.
Oh shit! It's not just freaking put his back.
The audience at home.
Band teacher took the dice and started rolling them as if it meant something, and everybody's like, "Hey, you have to say what it means when the
Yeah.
dice come out before you do it."
So to new viewers, so Digital Dan has got 2 dice, and he'll often in spots say 7 or higher, and I call, otherwise I fold, and roll the dice and do whatever the dice
Yeah,
say.
Band teacher was just gonna roll the dice and then fold it anyway.
I think he's gonna roll the dice and then say like, if it came out to like a 6, he'd be like 6 or higher, and I fold.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously folding.
I
There.
thought they're just there to roll. Just for fun.
Band teacher as well. Nice hand, Dan.
Thanks.
Nice river. Seven.
Fold.
Try again.
Raise 35.
No.
Band teacher going for it again with the king 10 suited. Very
Okay.
nice looking hand.
Indeed. Here's Stuart.
Band teacher might get 3-bet again.
Why wouldn't you?
Looks like he is getting 3-bet again.
Fold, fold. Call.
That kid is so precocious.
Stuart, I would check.
Exactly.
But you might get some tell off that, so I'm gonna reserve my right to action.
And a big miss for everyone.
Check.
Nothing at all for Band Teacher.
Band teacher should have more queens in his range than Stuart typically, so if he wants to, he could decide to rep a queen. He's more likely to have hands like queen 10, queen jack, king queen.
I don't know if that's actually true. Stuart will 3-bet hands like Queen Jack off in that spot, and I don't know if Band Teacher's going to call with them once he's been 3-bet
And Band
out of
teacher, by the
position.
way, let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
He has raised.
Well,
he is
how
repping the
about
queen.
that? Well, obviously it's going to work this time unless Stuart really goes for it.
I don't know if I remember a lot of instances of Stuart 3-betting hands like queen jack in spots like this.
I'm basing it on actual playing with him, playing cash games with him. I agree. On Poker Time, we haven't seen it too much. Band Teacher's a good guy to attack with that kind of a hand, though.
Well, Band teacher has chosen the right time,
Yep.
certainly, for this bluff.
Agreed.
Probably didn't have to be that big. Stuart bet 65. Band teacher raised to 300.
Yeah,
He
that
probably
was-
could have made it 225, even 200, and gotten the same results against the same hands. I don't think Stuart's folding an overpair for 300 versus 200 anyway.
Stuart's not folding aces no matter what.
And he's probably folding ace king for 225 or 200 also.
Yeah, if Stuart has 10s, he's calling either way,
Yeah.
I think. That's a really good point.
Did you say you just
You see, of course, Band Teacher did show the king 10 of spades, and
what, 2 weeks ago or last?
it's just so mean to do to that boy. That little...
He has to learn
Sweet
someday that
little
the
guy.
world is a cruel place, and Band teacher's the guy to tell him.
No. Catching hires us. Raise to 40.
The run-it-up's like a totally separate thing in the convention.
Bart Hanson with the classic, oh no, the under the gun guy raised, and I'm +1 and I have king queen problem.
So he just 3-bets it
Yeah.
and handles it.
He's blocking kings and queens. That's nice.
Yep.
No, Kathy.
DM5 looks like he's going to come along with 2 7s and kind of set mine. This is precarious because Timur is under the gun and could absolutely be 4-betting with some frequency here.
Yep.
But happens to have ace-jack suited, and it's a pretty easy call.
Indeed, really straightforward call, even though he's out of position of 2 players in a 3-bet pot. Still has to call there. And this looks like it's a great opportunity for Bart
This
just to
looks like a
win.
Bart Hanson win right here. Is
Yep.
what this looks like.
Now, of course, if DM5 had a more typical flatting range here, he's going to usually have bigger pairs.
Yeah, he's
than
going to have a
sevens.
set of 10s. He's going to have jacks. He's going to have some ace-queen suited type hands.
Yeah, maybe queens even.
You have to take a shot. Let's just do that. Oh, man.
But with 2 7s and Timur's under the gun range behind him, he's still going to call.
That
Wow.
seems a little loose.
Wow, turns out he's right.
He is right, and Bart hates it, and he's probably putting him on jacks right now.
I think Bart's really praying for a non-10 Broadway card. He did not get it.
It's another club. DM5 does have a club.
He's got a straight flush draw.
And Bart
Bart's
Hanson
given
decides
up.
that's just a terrible card for him, which he's probably right. DM5 might have some ace-jack of clubs, ace-queen of clubs, ace-king
Absolutely.
of clubs in his range.
Absolutely.
And this is just a bet for protection. It's a very small bet, but I don't see how Bart can continue.
Yep. I like the sizing a lot, actually. As long as you don't get, as long as you don't induce a big check raise.
Yeah, that's the problem with the sizing is if it creates a reaction from your opponent that you really don't want it to create,
Yeah.
that would have not happened if you just bet 400, you know?
Yeah. But you can have the nut flush and bet tiny there, too.
You can. And DM5 is just saying, welcome to Portland, Bart Hanson.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to beat you in every pot.
Crush Live Poker, more like Crush Live Barter.
We can workshop
Bart.
that one. We should have workshopped that one before you.
Yeah, I
put
wasn't
it out.
ready for that.
Yeah.
Getting ready. Listening to him on the max. I have to wait at the airplane to the airport. Listen to Bart Hanson's call-in show. And starts talking with this guy, Chris, from Portland. Like, I don't know if do I know this
Raise
Chris from
35.
Portland? Starts telling about a hand. Gets to the turn, gets to the river. I'm like, 35? This sounds like a hand I played. What happens on the river? This is the hand I played. He's calling it a hand that I go back to the beginning.
Cool.
So this Chris from Portland is telling Bart Hanson,
Raise
this
150.
guy's a little fishy.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
This sounds like a hand I played.
Yeah.
Bart's going to have to call here.
Haven't
In
seen
that
it
story,
since
by the way,
then.
Chris from Portland is band teacher.
That was a blazing.
No, it was that coach.
So,
One of those first few times we played
To
against,
some,
yeah.
That's incredible,
to summarize
actually.
what happened, Bart Hanson has a call-in show.
Yeah, like I,
Band teacher called in to explain a hand that he played against Eric and said Eric was a fish.
And all 3 of them are at the table
Yeah.
right now playing against each other.
Yeah.
Coincidentally.
into a bluff.
Oh, yeah.
This is the first time Bart or Eric have ever played on Poker Time.
Yep.
That's crazy. Good flop for Timur. Of course, you're always a little worried about trips, but it's pretty unlikely based on.
It looks like
the pre-flop
DM5 is just
action.
going to get coolered again here by Timur.
Yeah, it does. A heart would be. Oh, well, a jack would be a real devastating card, but this card may at least bail DM5 out.
A little bit.
Can fold a little bit more often. Right, Ace Queen got there,
That was bullshit.
You didn't call me a fishy, you called me
and
a
Timur
little-
checks.
Fake
A
news.
little fishy.
Fake news.
This might get him some. Oh well, that's too bad for Timur.
That's the worst card in the deck
Yeah.
for DM5 right there.
It's turns out it's a great card for him based on the actual situation. But yes, if Timur gets a 5 of clubs there on the river, or maybe not. Yeah, clubs is actually 5 of anything. He's often going to get paid.
Tim's on it here.
DM5 folds face up, and Timur chooses not to show.
Yeah, Timur really doing well here early on.
Well, having big pairs, and the other guy having a slightly smaller big pair. And, well, there's your point right there.
Yep.
Up 1.9K already. And Bart Hanson, welcome to
Wow.
Portland.
He's getting beat about the face and neck.
I think he's played both the hands that were big against DM5 perfectly fine. Just
Yeah.
turned out to not work out for him.
Sometimes.
Agreed.
I needed a power nap.
Yeah.
Fold.
I guess it was a little loosey-goosey to 3-bet the king-queen against the +1 open, but it's certainly not outside the realm of normal good cash game deep stack play.
This game was never in the muck, but to whatever degree it was in the muck, it is out of the muck.
They were going to publish this
Like, wow, these guys are playing a lot of hands.
the hand of the week or
It's been pretty aggressive,
special. Like,
pretty great.
It's wonderful.
It's marvelous.
And Timur's coolering people, so
Yes, he
fun,
is.
And we've got quads.
Wow.
Quads for DM5.
Does anyone else have anything? Not
Nope.
yet.
It's pretty unfortunate that nobody has a king.
Ace 3 picks up a gutter.
Yep.
Band teacher does check again.
DM5 checks again. He's just
Yeah.
hoping for an ace
A
or something.
4 would be devastating.
A jack comes, and Eric now is
Eric
probably
may
going to
have to pay off.
Yeah, I think he will.
One bet, sure.
DM5 could bet a worse jack.
See the way he tossed the chips in there? Only 50.
Now,
Yeah.
Eric might be considering raising. Hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
DM5's most likely holding is a worse jack, right? And it's a fishy line to raise now.
Painful to watch.
Eric does just call.
Well, why wouldn't you?
I understand what you're saying. I just don't know that
But afterwards, when he took it,
the hands that DM5 actually continues against, even a razor, even if the whole fishy situation is going to be profitable. But I understand what you're saying.
He bet a
He's-
third of the pot.
Yeah.
I was doing the delayed.
But
how often does
he
he
bet a
have-
third of the pot into 4 players?
But what does he have? Yeah, he happened to have quads, so that's a hand that he plays like that. What else does he play like that?
He can have queens. He can have a jack. He can have. That's about it. But the question is, what is Eric raising?
I know. That's why like.
But like often he's raising like trip 5s or better.
How does he not bet trip 5s? There's like 2 to a flush on the flop. Like he's betting that most of the time before the river.
I mean, guys slow play in weird ways.
yeah.
I think you're being too dismissive of the idea.
I'm not being dismissive of it. I just think that he doesn't actually. I think it sounds cooler than it actually is. That idea.
I think it's profitable.
Yeah, I don't.
Big City, maybe? I mean, I know they have a brewery there. I don't know if it's their.
Timmer getting a little loose here, feeling good, I guess. This is not what I would call an advisable call with King 9 off.
At least he's on the button. That's about it. That's all I got. If it comes 9-9, he's going to do very well, but it does not.
Comes Jack, and nobody's got a jack.
Well, Eric has a full house.
Well, that's pretty good, yeah. And Stewart's got the nut flush draw.
Yep. So Stewart is potentially in a lot of trouble here.
Looks like 5s are the nuts at this table, bro. DM5 is called with 2 8s. That's a little ambitious with so many players
Yeah,
behind.
I agree. But he is not the kind of guy who likes to, throw his hands away.
I
Is Eric
expect
going to
he'll
go for a raise here or just a call? I think this is a good time to raise.
I think it's a great time to raise. It looks like he does just call. I
Yeah.
think Stewart would have given him action if he had raised.
I agree, depending on sizing, but assuming any kind of normal size raise there, I think Stewart's going to have to call at least once.
Oh,
Wow.
devastating card.
How does DM5 do it? Wow,
That
that's
is
crazy.
just, and it looks like there are no 5s left in the deck because DM5 has the check mark.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a good point.
Stewart drawing dead all the way through. I guess he could have gone runner, or
Yeah.
steel wheel.
That was what he had. Or Jack.
DM5 is just going to come out and lead. And Eric's
Well,
got to love this. He must think DM5 has a jack.
He's not leading, actually. Stewart had bet the flop.
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah.
then Stewart checked. So DM5's just...
Well, Eric must be assuming right now that the DM5 has something like Jack 10 suited.
See,
That would be my assumption.
I like how DM5 is sizing this up against 2 players because one of them is often going to have a jack here.
Oh, definitely.
And so Eric's got to decide. It's just to call or raise. I mean, he's obviously... And it's really raise now or raise later. He
I think
does put in the raise.
It's not crazy to raise. It does kind of suck if you get shoved on, though. But with stack the pot
you're
as
just
it
not
is,
folding.
yeah, but you're not usually against just a jack when you get shoved on.
I agree, but still,
And
He
there's
does move
the move
in.
in.
The same way until
and Eric does call.
He's not gonna like what he sees.
There it is. He's like, oh man, I could have just raised the flop and won. Could have raised the flop, and I would not be down these $2,000. I'm about to be down. That's rough.
Oh, wow. That doesn't change.
Hey, another jack would have really killed all the action on the river if they had gotten there.
I mean, yeah, it's true. But also, Eric would have lost just 2 pocket 8s anyway, had somehow DM5 stuck
Oh,
around.
if an 8 hadn't come on the turn, yeah.
But I don't know that it would have gone that way. Probably wouldn't have.
You have to go to a liquor store to buy a hard
Can't really imagine a way that it would have gone.
If somehow
But it could've gotten
Eric
there.
decided to just call DM5 on the turn there, the river goes check, probably.
Yeah, agreed.
Up until 5 years ago, Washington.
Instead, DM5 wins a massive pot.
2,000.
Boy, if Eric raises the flop or doesn't raise the turn, it's probably going to work out really well for him comparatively. And instead, he gets. I mean, those chips just ghosted him. You know?
I believe you.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. They didn't return any texts.
I'm aware.
No, because
I haven't been in the dating world for a very long time, so I've heard these terms. Just haven't,
Yeah.
I don't have the visceral feeling of like what that means.
Ooh.
It's rough, huh?
It's rough for a while. The first 30, 40 times it sucks. And then you start to get used to it. You're like, okay,
Just another ghosting.
you text them, it's been 3 days, they don't reply, and you're pretty sure you're never going to hear from them again. That's kind of how it works. That's the world. And then once in a while they surprise you, but mostly not.
It might be you have a demographic problem. I know you keep getting dates on farmers only, and you're just not really a farmer.
Actually, I've been getting dates on Farmers Mingle, which is, of course, it's a combination of Farmers Only and Christian Mingle.
Yeah.
And it's great. And it's neither farmers nor Christians, obviously, on Farmers Mingle. Farmers
You're certainly neither of those things.
Farmers can only mingle is the implication. Anywho,
Eric with another pocket pair. Hopefully it goes better this time. And it does.
hey,
Just over 14K in the pot. The turn is the 4 of diamonds.
Hey, what is that? Speaking of turn, coming around the mountain? Is that the Nitrogen Sports Poker train?
I think they did buy a train recently.
If you listen, you can hear its very familiar jingle. And choo-choo. Wait, there's the jingle. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
Wow, that's the weirdest ad ever all of a sudden. Anyway, Nitrogen Sports Poker Room is, they let us do ads like this.
They
perhaps
do.
because they don't listen to them.
Free reign, baby. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
And we're back to the Eric is in pain show.
so far, Timmer's loving life, and Eric is...
DM5 doing pretty well, too, after that.
Yeah, it's true.
Massive cooler of Eric.
Massive indeed.
Looks like
what a rough 2-outer on the turn.
Martha has neglected to work the camera. She's just eating potato salad.
I mean,
it's probably pretty good.
It's got mayonnaise in it, is what she told me earlier, and
Yeah.
she said it just that way.
She likes to enunciate.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Greatest-
a lot of our interns really into pronouncing
Greatest generation.
mayonnaise. Man, teacher, very nice hand
An
on the button.
exquisite hand on the button. The curvature of the spade.
Well said.
Simply beautiful.
Good hand. Good little hand. Good little player.
You can see Eric going in the background there to get more chips.
I think we should get David Attenborough to be a guest commentator.
That would be nice.
Did you just call Dan a good little player?
Do you think he'd be good at poker analysis?
No, but I think he would say things that were unusual.
And he would say them in a way that made you feel like they were really important.
We need a whole soundtrack though to
Yeah.
go with it, obviously, and probably more and better cameras.
The
than we
London
have.
Symphony. Yeah, that's what we need. We should just make Planet Earth. That's what I'm saying.
Or maybe this could be the hand of the week.
Well, here we go. Blind versus blind action.
Game 5 says,
King 9, good enough for a raise here. Stuart better hope it's not a 9 high flap.
Some of the rich guys don't.
Oh my god, but it would seem like it would like slow.
It is not a 9 high flop. It's actually a reasonable-ish flop for Stuart, especially
Yeah.
when you are blind versus blind
7
here.
of diamonds and the gut shot.
It's a combo draw. Obviously, there are lots of problems potentially with it, but it's still a combo draw, and you're up against the most aggressive, bluffiest player at the table.
Raising would have been reasonable as
Really
well.
could have raised that, but Alexa just call.
That's a card that you can really rep if you're Stuart.
Yep, he could lead on this card, actually.
DM5, of course, can also rep the jack.
Yeah, but DM5 checking it back. Stuart's, I gotta believe, betting almost all any non-7 river. Oh, I guess a diamond he can't really bet either. I meant more he was gonna bluff.
And it looks like DM5 is probably just giving up here.
Nope.
He's going to
Is
take
it
a shot.
tiny? 45. So he's trying to get Stuart off of a 1-pair hand, like a 6. There's no way this is going to work, right? Blind versus blind? Stuart's thinking about how DM5 checked the turn, I guess. It's confusing him.
So did you win that hand?
Like, wouldn't you have bet the turn with a big diamond kind of thing? Makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice call by Stuart.
But also, if DM5 was bluffing, wouldn't he keep bluffing on the turn when the jack comes? Maybe he's thinking too. I don't know. In the end,
He might think that that's a good card to shut down on because Stuart has a lot of jacks that he
Yep.
takes that line with.
so actually he might check back big diamonds when the
That's
Jack Thomas,
okay. Whatever. I guess in the end, having the seven diamonds is probably high enough in the distribution to make the call.
I think that's the answer. Like, you have some trip jacks, you got a lot of one pair hands, or I guess two pair hands of the jacks being the other pair. And then you got some flushes, and wow, flushes are pretty good. Also, is it possible DM5 is betting a worse flush? Maybe once in a while.
Maybe.
Blind versus blind? Maybe.
Fold.
No, he was saying you did that.
I know. That's why I had to wait until he got folded.
Oh, and Bart's going to play the queen deuce of clubs.
Looks like he's tired of folding.
Raise 40.
He's here for the TV, the poker, the playing of the poker on the TV.
Fold.
Something like that.
You know?
Fold. Fold.
What you said.
Yeah, thank you. Band teacher somehow has the best hand in a heads-up situation. I don't think I've seen that before.
And
it's not a good flop for band teacher as Bart Hanson has zoomed into the lead.
It's true.
With the backdoor flush draw.
Band teacher, though, has, of course, the over and the gutter.
Probably has to call once.
Oh,
just
yeah.
For pure equity's sake.
100% has
A
to
king
call.
will obviously shut things down.
But would still be good for
A heart will probably also shut things down.
With no kicker, I like this check by Bart. And he's got to like that check back. And Bandy makes two pair.
Yep. It's not going to be a comfortable two pair, and I don't think he can really bet it for value.
It's hard to get value out of this. He doesn't even try.
That might be good. Probably good.
That's good. I was trying the eye wrong. Didn't work.
Bart showing off the range. Like, yeah, I'll play the queen deuce suited.
Yeah.
You little pieces of crap.
Bart showing very clearly doing that with real intention.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Make sure everyone can see it. So they'll probably assign wider ranges than they should to him in future hands.
Oh, yeah.
I have to assume that's what's going on.
Yeah, a guy like DM5 is a guy who really pays attention to stuff like that, and I think Bart might try to take advantage of that.
DM5's like, hey, you're like me. I play hands like queen deuce suited. +2.
Although he sometimes limps them.
He does.
It never works for me. It doesn't work.
You did outflop me.
Yeah, it doesn't really work for him that much either.
Need the tattoo.
Very nice hand for DM5 to wake up with on the button here.
Yeah.
35. Fold.
And
But-
everyone gets out of his way.
No action. Eric could consider calling out of the big blind with Jack 7 off there.
He could, but it's really fine to fold it,
Yeah,
too.
it's borderline.
Out of position. It's kind of crappy. Eh. I'm down with folding.
If there was an ante, it would be a call.
If there was an ante of...
Yeah.
Yes. If there was an ante.
In a tournament situation, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. In a tournament situation. But, it's not a tournament situation.
I mean, isn't life just one big tournament?
Life is one big ICM spot, man.
Yeah.
Played jacks, pocket jacks in a way.
Don't forget about reverse ICM.
Nice.
Raise 35.
Stuart opening with the queen 9 of diamonds.
Fold.
35?
Yes.
Feels like Eric is not folding this one, but then he does.
It would have been a little bit inconsistent to fold the Jack 7 off out of the big blind and call the 8-5 suited out of the small blind. Not to say that we've never seen any consistency on Poker Time before.
Because I spent a fair amount of time watching him play.
There was a particular hand I remember, or a series of hands where we saw Joseph open 8-9 off under the gun, and then we saw him fold Jack 10 off in the cutoff in like the same orbit.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff that goes down in this table.
Why did it take so long?
Fold.
They were talking about it like in the first 2 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like right
Raise
away. Like I remember
35.
talking about
Digital Dan with
Hey.
the fish hooks.
This is the hand he got decimated by in the last session. It was episode 1 of the last session against Wonka when Wonka 5-bet all in with King Queen, and Digital Dan found the call, but Wonka turned to King and river to Queen, and yeah.
You, of course, don't mean decimated because you always like to point
that's
out
right.
that just means reduced by 1/10.
That is true. I do like to point that out, and I do not mean decimated. I'm just using the popular meanings of these words.
Obliterated. And that's quite a flop for Digital Dan. By the way,
Yeah.
Timmer called out of the small blind with 6-5 off and flopped pretty well.
Yeah, it's quite a flop for Digital Dan, but...
And Dan checks back.
So
And
surprising.
Timmer gets there.
Wow,
And
look
Dan
out.
should never play jacks.
I mean, they're deep. Look how deep these guys are. Dan could lose a lot of money here. Like a lot of money.
Didn't sort of come out and was like, well, I can't really.
Just a call for Dan here. He's really slow playing it.
Queen of diamonds. Dan's going to have to raise.
Yep. Timmer's got the nuts. Dan has the third nuts.
Bet 200.
How much did he bet? Ooh, 200 to 180.
Still have to raise, I think. Timmer could have a smaller set.
Absolutely. You can have 2 pair. Small set. Queen Jack. Hard for him to have Queen Jack, but possible.
Learning a lot to play against. Wait, who? Oh my, what?
Here
Looks
it
like
comes.
raising chips.
Absolutely. You got to do it.
Raise. 550.
What are you doing over there, Dan? What's going on?
Weird thing to say as Timmer.
Yeah.
Now he's going to have to raise, and then it's going to be really confusing and kind of seem like the nuts.
It's going to seem like it. I mean, raising would seem like the nuts anyway.
It would, but when you give the speech of like, what are you doing to me? And then you raise, I mean, that's
agreed.
A little much.
1,500.
I never really that's
Raise. 1,500.
Yeah. Dan is now in the pain chamber.
The pain chamber.
1,500.
That's actually why I brought this.
No, I did my.
Can Dan get away?
I mean, I think it's a tough spot without the speech. With the speech, the only concern I have is that maybe Timmer's overvaluing a lower set.
Right.
But if you don't think he's the guy who's going to overvalue a set of 7s here or a set of 4s, then you're never winning, right?
We have seen him put a lot of money in spots where it
the
seemed like
full
only,
house hand.
when he had bottom full house and he 3-bet shoved.
That
4-bet shoved.
also did involve a speech. He gave Wonka one of his time cards.
So I think that makes it tougher. Otherwise, I agree with you. Otherwise, I think this would be a fold with the speech and everything. But I would really be worried about Timmer having 2 7s here and 2 4s here, and absolutely think he just has the best hand.
Those hands also make more sense than 5-6, having called out of the small blind.
Yep.
Still, I'm concerned that that's just not happening, and that it's like exclusively the nuts with the whole speech.
He still might
Speech
only
3-bet.
call on the river.
Speech 3-bet on the river is pretty scary.
Yep.
Miami, Jets, Atlanta are all.
Dan's really thinking about this. This is a rough spot.
And Washington.
7 or higher, I call.
7 or higher he calls, he says.
You got 5-6. Right?
He says you got 5-6 right, and he turns the hand into a call, and yeah.
So that was an interesting way for Dan to deal with that. It's just
Back to my last session.
7 or higher, so he's calling like 60% of the time or something like that, right?
That is a rough one, and it feels like this session is just an extension of the last one for Dan, where he lost $7,500.
I mean, in this one he just lost like $1,600 on that hand. That's pretty rough.
And as we can see, he is not the biggest loser.
That's gotta feel good,
right? That feels great.
He was doing pretty well. He was up a little bit, I guess, before. Timmer is just crushing the world.
3.4K. This is similar to the session previous, where Timmer just built up a huge stack and then had that one hand happen against Wonka and lost the biggest pot in Poker Time history.
Yeah.
Hopefully, for his sake, his trajectory stays at this level this time.
As long as you don't have the hood on when you raise, it's fine.
I mean, how about Digital Dan can not seemingly get out of his own way poker-wise now? Like, after it lost 7,000 last session, I should say. And this episode, he's already down.
And I can't fault the call there with the jacks.
No.
And he definitely just ran really bad in the last session, too. It's not like he's making these horrible decisions.
No. He made a few decisions that were at least questionable, but not awful or anything like that.
He didn't deserve to lose $7,500.
No, of course not.
And Bart Hanson now with Timmer's hand. Going to 3-bet him.
Timmer's going to call the button.
Ryan, you all right?
And
This
pretty
is a
good flop for Bart.
This is going to be a Bart Hanson win right here.
Yep.
I'm calling it.
I mean, this is a board he would continue on anyway. He's got the gutter to the nuts. He's got the backdoor flush draw. This is just a great spot.
You laid it down right there.
It says he checked. That's not true. He's betting 105.
He checked his chips.
Timmer did not bet 105. Bart Hanson did. Oh, Martha. Martha in the potato salad.
Do you think when Timmer goes south, he puts the chips in his beard?
You're implying that Timmer goes south.
I said no. I'm saying if. I said when, but you're right. I mean, if Timmer were to go south, you're right. I should say it though. I don't necessarily think Timmer goes south.
All right, so we're going to have a little bit of a wrong data on those two players there, showing that Bart lost the hand where in fact he won it.
I was just making a Timmer beard joke, really. That's all that was.
You just wanted to talk about the fact that Timmer has a beard and it is larger than average.
It is a bit
beards.
scraggly. I'm coming out and saying it. The word scraggly is a fair
That's
word.
That's a reasonable way
Yeah.
to define that beard.
I mean, Stuart looks like
Stuart looks
a
like
6-year-old who's about to go to bed, and Timmer looks
You're
like
so
the
nice.
grisliest of Grizzly Adams.
You're so nice to everybody.
I mean, Stuart chose to wear that. That's on him. He knew what he was getting into. He's been on this show.
Spa's real nice. So Mark's
Oh,
gonna
really?
get some spa, yeah. It's a really nice spa.
I need to take Jesse there. Then.
Dan with 2 5s. Probably feels like if he hits a set, he's just going to lose a bunch of money.
Well, yeah, he probably does feel that way. Well, there's a set.
There's the set. Nobody has anything besides him.
He should be okay this time. I mean,
And
there
he
are
only has
running
92%.
There are running cards. DM5 is betting. I think Dan should raise right away. I guess first wheel has to decide what he's doing with this King 10, and
1 point per $10 instead of 1 point per 20.
Wheel's thinking about something.
He's thinking about camera time.
Yeah.
Trying to show off those sunglasses.
So, to call or to raise, Dan just calls.
Wouldn't have hated a raise.
I like a raise there.
Call's fine, though.
Yeah, agreed.
There's an 8 for DM5, which maybe means he's going to be checking it back here.
But it means Dan can probably get a street of value on the river if a heart doesn't come, at least some of the time.
Yeah.
And once in a while, the 8 will pair, and it will be really good for Dan. Once in a
Unless
while.
he folds.
Oh, he's leading. Interesting.
That is interesting. I think because there's a flush draw out there, DM5 might have to call.
Post doesn't know anything.
How do you figure that stuff out?
I mean, I sort of figured it out with Caesars, but
He agrees.
Found that machine that was giving out too many points, right? When I hit the 200,000, they changed that machine this year.
Ooh, that's a bad card for
Wow.
DM5.
Wow.
He's going to have to pay Dan off now.
Agreed.
I don't think you can raise.
On the 9-6 machines, and they have 100 play 9-6.
Maybe Queen Jack plus you can raise. I don't know if you can raise Jack 8
You're
here.
trying to get called by 5-3?
I guess.
There's not too much out there. 8-5? There's a few things that can call you. Maybe because you're DM5, you can raise a little more because you're going to get called by a
he
wider
just-
range.
He didn't even consider it. Put the chips
Yeah.
in before he even saw how
Well,
much Dan bet.
Dan bet $450.
Yeah.
So,
You're always playing 5.
well, Dan gets a big chunk of it back. Gets about half of his losses in that other hand back.
That's one of the things that can happen when you play Jack 8 off +1.
True.
Not to say that
That's
good things can't happen either, but, you know, if you want to not be in those situations so frequently.
Dan really sized it up there on the river. I liked it.
That's like less than $5.
He's got to get all his money back, man.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of ground to make up.
Give himself a chance.
And like they have some $1.
Tried to make it look like a missed flush draw.
Yeah, and I think they have some.
In the end, DM5's hand happened to just be too
Yeah.
good to fold no matter what.
I assume DM5 is folding on a non-jack, non-8 river a lot for
Mostly.
450.
Yeah, mostly.
Pretty good, but it's, so what they do.
Gonna limp the 7-5 suited here.
Still has 4K in front of him.
Yeah, he's still having a good session.
Him
for
and
sure.
Timmer could really play a monstrous pot.
Well, here they are.
Cool.
They have a lot of games that are over 100%.
Still wouldn't be the biggest pot in poker time history.
Nope. Not well. Other people get involved and make it, like
yeah,
we
that's
see.
true. Well, Ben Teacher has gotten involved by 3-betting, and that's just gonna work.
Well.
Nice little move there. Sneaking in there with the oboe.
Any machine that's like less than 100%.
The elbow?
Oboe.
Oh, the oboe. That makes more sense.
So if you play 9-6.
That move is called the oboe.
When you 3-bet King Jack off on the button as a squeeze play?
Yeah. Oboe.
Sure. That's reasonable. What do you call the raise on the river with the nut blocker?
French horn.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna ask one more, and then we'll be done.
Okay.
What do you call the folding when you're +3 with a unsuited 3-gapper?
I don't know what it's called, but it's like this when one of your reeds on a woodwind instrument gets really spitty and gross.
Yeah.
It's like a spitty, gross woodwind reed.
When you fold.
Yeah.
Okay.
+3.
With a unsuited 3-gapper.
Yeah. Spitty woodwind situation.
How about when you fold aces in a satellite?
You said it was just one more.
I know, but now there's another one. When you fold aces in a satellite because you're on the bubble and there's just no reason to play because you've got enough chips, and someone goes all in front of you,
But I'm saying like it's really close.
and you have aces.
That's called detention.
You're gonna play 100.
Whoa.
You go to detention.
It's called the pain train.
Raise 35.
Eric playing a hand again. Haven't seen him in a little while.
Look at him go. Timmer is
calling
playing a
well.
lot of unsuited hands that people don't usually play in these positions. I think he's feeling pretty good because in previous sessions we've seen him play a lot tighter than this.
Look at this.
Meanwhile, we have a bit of a cooler developing. Bart Hanson is not going to like getting 4-bet here with the positions of the players.
The cold 4-bet, assuming Stuart does it. Be interested to see how Bart reacts to that with 2 jacks here.
There is a cold 4-bet. I guess
up to
Stuart
500.
has decided to just go with 2 kings here.
Makes sense. All this extra kashish that's out there. Now it's 320 to Bart Hanson to call. He has jacks.
It's not crazy to fold.
That's what I was just getting to. He hasn't seen Stuart do anything crazy at all.
Stuart is a guy who could have ace-king here.
Sure.
It's half off his half.
Maybe even ace-queen. I'm not sure.
Maybe once in a while I can have ace-queen. But if you don't know anything about a player, it's not
Bart's
crazy
going to
to
make
let
the
go.
call, and that is not to set mine. He's not getting the right price for that.
No. He's playing for the value of the hand. And that is, that's a pretty incredible
great
flop.
flop for Bart. He's going to get away easy now.
Yep.
And Stuart probably thinks he has a good chance of getting paid because Bart has ace-queen, maybe ace-jack suited a little bit in his range.
I don't know how much ace-jack suited he really has.
He's got ace-queen suited. He's got some ace-king as well, although that is heavily blocked.
Yeah.
Well, there is a sign of life for Bart's hand here. He could win with a queen.
I don't think Stuart's going to let another free card come off, though.
No, and he might think that Bart could have made a set of 10s sometimes here.
Just got to bet.
And I don't think, unless it's a very small bet, that Bart can continue in the hand.
Yeah, I mean, Stuart can bet $350 if he wants. He's going to go up to 5.
6, maybe. Oh, 5, you're right.
Doesn't want to let a queen or a jack just come off and put himself in a weird spot, I guess.
Or another spade.
Yep.
And Bart just lets it go, and it's a nice win for Stuart.
Yeah, I think when Bart checks again, it's like pretty rare for Stuart to get action, but
Phil squeeze, re-squeeze.
so be it.
There's just a few too many bad cards on the river.
Yep.
I just get time in the old-fashioned way.
Tables?
Yeah. Let's do a little degenning and.
It's funny to catch little pieces of these conversations out of context. Bart just saying tables, and then laughing. Tables are funny sometimes.
Another big pair for Timmer.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of big pairs for the whole table, but Timmer especially.
Yeah, Timmer's gotten the best end of all of that.
Yeah.
And
he's
he's
always
once again has somebody crushed.
It's always pair over pair for him.
And Digital Dan has one of his favorite hands.
He does love that hand. It's going to call.
Fold. Call, fold. Fold.
And Eric just can't seem to get anything rolling.
He's got a lot of time. This video, of course, will be followed by 3 more videos coming out every Tuesday as we finish up this session. Hey, what a flop for Digital Dan. He flopped a flush draw.
That's pretty good. Band Teacher also flopping pretty well.
And Timmer with the over pair. That's pretty good.
Over
The
pair.
over pair. It's like an
He bet 225. That is
Wow.
a massive bet.
I don't see how Band Teacher can continue now. Well,
you were
he
wrong.
continues anyway. Digital Dan, weird spot.
It is.
Getting kind of a price now.
Yeah, but you could easily have the
Yeah.
worst flush draw
Right, but why are you playing 4 deuce of clubs if that's what you're worried about?
because of the glory, Jonathan. For the glory.
Yeah. He's going to call once. He's in position. If a club comes off, he gets to see what everyone else does. That's pretty nice.
It is. It was such a big bet, though, by Timmer.
Yeah, I know.
And that might just shut everything down. Dan could take a shot at this if
I
it
think
checks to him.
Dan probably should take a shot at this if it does get checked to him.
He could have ace-10. He could have ace-x of clubs.
I think ace-x of clubs very much in play for Dan.
Although that might be a check back a lot of the time in reality. Oh, is Timmer going to turn his hand into a bluff here, essentially? Looks like he is.
I mean, what's he trying to get to fold?
Bet 525.
Yeah, that's kind of strange because you don't expect ace-x of clubs is ever folding, of course. And that's the only ace that got there except for what is now 2-pair.
Right, which isn't folding either. So
I mean, I
he's
guess
just trying to charge clubs.
then it's a value bet to try to get a 10 to call.
And look at this. Band Teacher is not folded yet. But he's going to, right?
Yeah, of course.
He's
He
got
has
Dan
to.
behind him.
Absolutely
he
must
just was
fold.
doing a little mugging for the cameras, and away it goes.
And Dan, of course, is going to fold as well. Yeah, that bet by Timmer, I don't think that was really thought out.
What the one good thing that bet really does for him is he doesn't allow himself to get bluffed off the hand.
That is accurate. That helps.
Because if it checks to Dan and Dan bets, it's really hard for Timmer to call with band teacher behind him, I think. It's not a great spot. So that's the one good thing. But still, ultimately, I think it's not optimal to make that bet.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like literally every worse hand is folding. And queens aren't really out there, so every better hand that really gets there is calling.
Mm-hmm. Any ace is any ace that gets there, that calls the flop.
Yeah, because then it's two pair or the nut flush draw with the ace.
Right.
So. Certainly not folding those hands.
Yeah, yeah, that's really it. Any other, like the ace with the gutter didn't call the flop because it was too much money. Digital Dan loving those fives.
Worked last time.
Indeed. Here's Eric. He's probably going to play this one.
He's playing it.
Huh. Likes to
Playing
3-bet.
Fast and loose.
This is a pretty straightforward call for Digital Dan here.
Yep. Eric is deep enough.
Gets to be in position as well. Seems like pretty easy, and there it is.
So, in order for you to get $50,000, if you're playing $125 and you'd have to play 400.
Eric misses. Okay. He does have 2 backdoors and overs.
And the initiative, Jonathan.
Yep.
And the chutzpah.
Well, here's that chutzpah thing. This is a reasonable flop that Dan could decide to continue on.
I think it's fine to fold, though.
It is fine to fold. Being in position makes it a little easier to continue because
looks like Dan is on your side here.
Yeah, you get to see if Eric gives up on the turn or not. Let's see if Eric does give up on the turn.
It's tough to keep going when you get called on a flop like that.
Exactly.
And especially when a 3 comes, now you just think that, well, I'm going to have to triple barrel to get a 10 to fold.
Yep. You have the queen of spades, so you block the spade draws. Here's the check. Now, I think Digital Dan should be betting here just to protect his equity.
Yeah, you would expect that if Eric had jacks plus, he would be betting again most of the time.
Well, it is safe out there. Is Eric going to take a shot now that the jack comes off?
If he does, he's kind of repping ace-jack mostly.
Yep. That's
you
about
don't
it.
really put him on too many overpairs.
But that means he had a 3-bet ace jack. Looks like he probably would have. He has
Yes,
king queen,
it
but
does.
Digital Dan may not know that.
Yeah, right. If you try,
I think it would work if he barrels here. Let's
I mean, yeah,
find out.
fives is very low in Dan's distribution here. It was questionable to even call the flop.
It's kind of only a jack, though, right? What else could it be? Nothing else makes sense.
You got to account for trickiness and weird plays. Where sometimes Eric's going to show up with a set or an overpair or something like that, probably.
Maybe a little bit, but mostly it's a jack for value.
And that is what Dan is thinking through right now. The story is not amazing.
I mean, the story of ace jack at least tracks.
Eric sized it in a way that he could have ace jack.
Digital
Dan
Dan
makes
finds
the
the
call.
call.
What a hero call by Digital Dan. Although the story was not incredible, it's still it's quite a call. It's a tough trigger to pull.
Yep. Well, I guess if you're going to check the turn, you have to make more of those calls, right? Because you're inducing that spot a little bit instead of betting the turn and protecting your equity.
Yeah.
2 cards left.
Still, Dan has a lot of hands he takes that line with that are better than 5s.
Eric does.
No, Dan does.
Oh, Dan does. Oh, you're talking about in terms of distribution.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like he's got 10s.
Yeah.
And Jack X of spades.
And some 8s.
Yeah. And 9s. Just pocket 9s. Right?
Oh, yeah.
In jest, I think. Probably not. I mean, not expecting many takers.
Yeah.
Raise 35.
All you need is one.
If Dan is betting his flush draws on the turn, that makes 5s very low in his distribution, too.
Is that a thing that happened? It was a commercial. It was like.
That's a good point.
The ball.
But he went with the story, and he was right.
Has anybody had
Yep.
chicken sandwich?
That's all people talk about.
I went there like 4 different times looking for it, but apparently it came back this week. It came back this week.
I don't know at this point if people know that Eric is 3-betting hands like king, queen, and stuff like that. So maybe Dan actually doesn't think ace jack is part of that range, and then that jack isn't such a good card to rep.
He had 3-bet the 5-6 suited before, that's right. And he didn't end up going to showdown on that.
Right. So if Dan just thinks he's got a normal 3-betting range, now it looks like ace queen, ace king a lot more than it looks like ace jack. And then it looks like got a last resort bluff type spot.
So that was a little fun. I don't, you probably didn't see, but it looks like Band Teacher's 3-betting. We'll talk about that. He's choosing the Dan hand to 3-bet.
Everyone loves the 4 deuce on this show. I'm not sure how that happened, but here we are.
But we see the DM5 is not at the table, and our dealer Devin has been putting cards in the box for players not at the table. He had queens. He would have had queens.
Well, he would have flopped pretty well.
Yep.
Stuart called, by the way.
Band Teacher has reverse dominated Stuart now.
Yes, indeed.
He's just going to bet to protect his equity here, and that'll do it. He's probably not entering the pot or 3-betting if DM5 is there, because DM5 is probably going to take that 3-bet right away from him.
Stuart's going to lose about the same amount of money either way. I'm guessing he's not going to fold the ace-2 suited to DM5 specifically.
Not to DM5.
But he might 4-bet. He might lose more money, actually.
He might, yeah. Or he might triple barrel and win.
That too. He might not need to triple barrel.
We got to get that footage from Parallel Universe 187, because I think that's where that happens.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where that hand specifically was.
I don't know what happens on the river. I just know, like, up until then.
Well, yeah, and Lauren Klein and a bunch of really good players.
Queen Jack for Timmer.
Got $5,000 in front of him.
Is this the last hand, Martha?
Martha's indicating it is the last hand, actually.
She's face deep in the potato salad.
But she's breathing. And that is going to do it for this episode of Poker Time.
Let's take a look at how these players are doing, shall we? Martha,
bring up the
Martha, bring it up.
Bring up the stats. We want to see their wins. There we go.
Good job, Martha.
Timmer is crushing.
We'll see if it continues next week and see if Eric can turn it around. And Bart Hanson, by the way.
Yeah.